Welcome into the X106 Podcast. In this week's podcast, Max Moore, Jonathan Bynum, and myself, Devin Albertson, will recap Super Bowl 51. Did the Patriots win the game, or did the Falcons choke away the Super Bowl? But before we talk about Super Bowl 51, follow us on Twitter at X106_sports for all your Bearcat Athletics news and updates. Now, on to Super Bowl 51. Did the Patriots win the game, or did the Falcons lose it?
All right. Well, I think the Patriots won that game. I mean, it's a contributing factor to have the Falcons, have those kind of... I think the Falcons contributed to part of it, but I think overall, the Tom Brady led the Patriots down from 25 points to score 31 unanswered points to win that game. I mean, you don't throw 466 yards for nothing. You don't have all those yards. You don't have all those touchdown passes just by the Falcons not playing well. I mean, they certainly had some iffy play calls towards the end, but overall, I do think the Patriots won that game more so than the Falcons lost that game.
I think it's the fact that the Falcons kind of fell apart in the second half. They used all of their energy to take apart the Patriots. What was it? Score 21-3 at the half. We thought it was over, but Tom Brady, being the legend he is, he stopped playing games in that fourth quarter. He knew what he was doing that whole time.
So after it became 28-3 in the middle of the third quarter, Patriots came back, scored a touchdown, and of course they missed that extra point. It clinked off the upright. And then after that, the Falcons' offense went non-existent. They went from the best offense in the league to the Rams. I don't know what happened. The play calling was absolute garbage from Kyle Shanahan. I'm frustrated about that because once you get after that touchdown, New England came back, made it 29-28. Next possession, we had the onside kick. So they had the ball inside New England territory to start out the drive. You had a 9-yard play on first down, lose a yard, actually have a holding call, so go back 10 yards. Then the drive just goes to crap after that. You get incomplete pass, and you get sacked for negative 9 yards. I think at that point, okay, not a big deal. New England gets the ball, takes it down the field, gets a field goal, makes it a 16-point game. The next drive makes zero sense from Atlanta's point of view when you get an 8-yard run on first down, 1 yard on second down. Coleman gets hurt after that, so you bring Freeman in. Yeah. Why on third and 1 are you lining up in the shotgun when there's 9 minutes to go in the game, 8:30 to go in the game? Why do that? If you're going to throw a ball, at least do under center play action pass, a rollout, not just a straight up shotgun like Seattle does. It's just dumb. I don't understand that point from Atlanta. So then he gets sacked. Great play by Hightower to knock that ball out. Ryan almost had his arm going forward. That would have changed the game. But New England gets the ball 25-yard line. You can't give Brady that field position. He's going to score there. So that's 5 plays later.
And I don't disagree with the fact that they probably should have ran the ball. But I think
I don't like that drive, but the next drive is what I have more problems with.
Right, and I think the thing that maybe Kyle Shanahan was thinking, and in their defense, is we want to get the ball to our best player and have him win us this game because he's not. I mean, he won the MVP. Mm-hmm. You want to get your ball. You want to get the ball to your best player and make him make plays, and so that's where I think he was talking about, or what he was thinking with giving Matt Ryan full control over that. And I think another thing that the thing that changed for Atlanta, at least in my opinion, it was the fact that they weren't able to play as physical of defense as they were in the first half.
Yeah, a ton of touches to Patriots receiver. They called a holding. That was bogus, not one touchdown drive. There was 3 straight holding calls.
And I think the thing was that they opened up the game how the Seahawks do it. They come out and they say, we're going to play this physical brand of defense. Mm-hmm. We're going to stick on these wide receivers.
Playing cover one robber.
We're going to bully you. And then as the game went on, they started calling pass interference penalties. They're like, okay, now they're going to start calling it. And now they can't cover them like that. The defensive backs can't cover the receivers of New England. They're too small. They're too fast. So if they can't be physical with them, they're going to get open, and Tom Brady had time to find his receivers.
And the thing is, Tom Brady played like absolute garbage the first 2.5 quarters. Yeah. He played like straight ass. Like he was bad. Like he was Alex Smith type quarterback the first 2.5 quarters. He was so inaccurate some of his passes downfield. But then he turned a switch.
And then he just became the greatest quarterback of all time in 8 minutes.
I think the thing that really was the made that happen was the fact that his receivers couldn't get open because they're playing such physical defense.
I understand that, but he had some open receivers in the first half. He just flat out missed them.
Oh, yeah, he did miss some receivers, but also when you're sacked 5 times throughout the game and hit 8 and hurried a lot more than
And it helps that later on in the game, the Patriots ran 90-some plays this game. The Atlanta defense was so gassed by the end of that game because I think part of the reason was after Atlanta went up 28-3, they called 5 running plays the rest of the game. That makes no sense. That's not how this works.
Seems like Jason Garrett was in that
I don't understand.
That head coach over there.
I don't understand why you would do that, especially when Devontae Freeman's averaging almost 7 yards a carry, and they were gashing New England's running defense all game long. And when I go back to that second to last drive, whenever Atlanta's up 8, they get the ball at their own 25-yard line. No, own 10 because the idiot came out of the end zone with the return. So they get the ball, 39 yards to Devontae Freeman. That was a great play call by Shanahan to get the back out of the backfield. They didn't even cover him. I'll give them that. And they ran the ball, and they passed that. Pass to Julio was fantastic. If Edelman didn't make the play the next position drive, that's a catch of the game because Julio, with turf toe, slamming his toe tapping it there, that was inhuman.
Yeah, that was literally like all of his catches. He had 4 catches on the day, 87 yards?
Yeah, that was 27 of them.
Like, God, Julio, he's a magician with the ball. Like, if you throw it to him, he's probably going to catch it. Like,
and then after that, so there's 4:47 to go in the game. You're thinking, okay, up 8, you're at the 22-yard line in New England. You're easily in field goal territory. Why throw the ball? At least make New England use all their timeouts. Run the ball. You're in field goal range. You have Matt Bryan, who's a good kicker, a 40-yard field goal. Even if they get pushed back a couple times, they get a 45-yard field goal. They're in a dome. You're in a dome. I mean, then -1 yards next play. Okay. Then they pass, sacked for 12 yards, loss. Then the next play, they had a nice little 9-yard out route, but they got a holding call, so push them back 10 more yards. Incomplete pass, out of field goal range, give Brady the ball. Too much time on the clock. Brady goes right down the field. I give Brady a lot of credit for doing that. But that situation, it should have been an 11-point game if Atlanta just runs the football with Devontae Freeman, eats clock up, and the game's over.
And you know what else I think hurt Atlanta was calling the 2 timeouts early in the second half.
Yeah, that was
I remember telling my friends, I was like, you can't afford to call those timeouts that early. You can do it in the first half, but in the second half, you got to keep those timeouts.
They're valuable.
When they got the ball back with about 50 seconds left, and if they had all 3 timeouts, you could have gone down the field, at least got into field goal range. But, having those timeouts are valuable, especially in the second half. And
especially against New England. I mean, you just need your timeouts late in the game like that. Their last 4 meaningful possessions in the second half went punt, fumble, punt, punt. You can't do that versus New England, no matter what your lead is in the Super Bowl. You can't do that versus Tom Brady, which is why I put more of the blame on the Falcons choking the game away than New England winning it. Because I think the Falcons, if they just would had one of those possessions result in 3 points, the game's over. I mean, there's no way New England can make up that many possessions again and again and again unless they get an onside kick. And you have to pray for an onside kick, and there's a lot of extra factors happen, which why I think New England gets a lot of credit. I think it's 60-40. I'm not saying it's like 90-10 all Atlanta. No, I'm not going to be that insane about it. I think it's 60-40 all Atlanta just being dumb at the end of the game and just not running the ball. Like, I'm an ex-O-line. I know, Max, you played O-line in college, so you got to be more. We like to run the ball, especially when you're actually gashing a defense like that the whole game. I mean, early on, they had, 80-some yards in the first half. They finished with 104 yards rushing. And it wasn't because it wasn't working. It's because it went away from it. I just understand. The best thing about Atlanta's offense is the play action. You need the running game to set it up first. They did that well, then just got completely away from the running game. So, and then also, this is like another tangent. I don't like overtime rules in the NFL. I like college overtime better. I think NFL should adopt it and tweak it. Start at the 50 instead of the 35 or whatever, 25 that the college does. Start at the 50, and both teams get a possession. Because the MVP of the league didn't even get a possession in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, the first step in going from the old overtime rules was getting the opportunity for you to, get the ball back if they just kick a field goal.
Yes, I like. There's a step in the right direction.
It's a step in the right direction, but I do agree. I think college overtime rules are better, but I don't know if that becomes a player safety thing where they said they don't want it too long of an overtime where they can just go back and forth.
That's about the biggest argument against it.
Yeah, I don't know why, and I don't know if they just want. I don't know why, but I heard. I think Mike Florio was talking about it, where he wouldn't mind having the sudden death overtime in the regular season, where you just kick a field goal, and then you can go home.
In the playoffs,
playoffs, you have either a college style or more. You get 2 possessions no matter what, and then you go from there. But I like what he thought about just having that, because then you take more into consideration with player safety during the middle of the year or during the regular season, but during the end of the year.
Has some intrigue still in the playoffs. So
Right.
extra scenarios that the coaches can deal with there and certain strategies that in the regular season, yes, the regular season is important, all 16 games, but the playoffs is a little different, especially with sudden death. Players aren't worried as much about safety in the playoffs. It's do or die. I mean, you saw Tom Brady dive after an interception in the Super Bowl that he wouldn't do in the regular season. He just let him go, which, by the way, is first pick six he's thrown in the Super Bowl, playing in 7 of them. Yeah. Great play by the DB there. I mean, Alford, he was so close to possibly securing the Super Bowl MVP if he just picks off that pass over the middle, though it's Edelman. I mean, he had 2 hands on that. Just some people are like, I don't know if he could have caught that. He could have caught that. It'd been a tough catch, yes, but he could have caught that. And it would have been second interception, a fumble recovery, game's over. He's Super Bowl MVP right there, forcing 3 turnovers.
Well, I think he was the MVP, but just not for the right team.
Yeah,
I think him kicking up the ball to Edelman to luckily grab that was
that was a tremendous catch. I know some people like comparing that versus David Tyree, the Giants against Patriots a few years ago. Personally, I just think the level of difficulty of both is really tough. But Edelman's was in triple coverage. Ball was an inch from hitting the turf twice. And he's still able to come down with it. I thought it was incomplete from the very beginning.
Right.
From where I was sitting, where I was watching the Super Bowl at. Much watch replays, like I don't know how. Like that, I get Dave Tyree was a close catch. Like it was a really good catch, tremendous off the helmet. I think it's really close, but I give a slight edge to Edelman with the level of difficulty with the ball almost falling to the ground, all the stuff needed to make that catch happen.
Yeah, and I would say that the only thing that Tyree has over that would be the fact that it was a scramble drill, and Eli barely made it out of there, and it was on 3rd down, a big 3rd down toward the end of the game. So that'd be the only thing.
The entire play might be better because of Eli's that Brady had a bad throw. It just got lucky, got tipped in the air. Like that was just a bad throw.
And Edelman's a fantastic receiver, so like, of course they're going to be able to convert.
Edelman's underrated in the NFL. He really is. I don't know what it is, but he just makes plays all the time. He had 5 catches for 87 yards.
Yep.
I mean, he was phenomenal all game. And then James White, he set an NFL record for catches in the Super Bowl with 14. I mean, I know you said before this podcast there was 30-some records broken in the Super Bowl of just little things between Brady and Belichick, overtime, pass attempts. I mean, every little thing you could have in the Super Bowl. And I know Matt Ryan only threw for 284, but he had 2 touchdowns, no picks. Their QBRs were nearly identical. Brady's was a 79.6 and Ryan's was 79.2. I mean, they were eerily similar. Both sacked 5 times, both threw 2 touchdowns. Just Brady threw the ball almost 3 times as much as Ryan did.
Well, when you look at their passer ratings, Matt Ryan had a 144 passer rating, which is
insane.
I mean, that's
153 is
153.8, I think, is the perfect mark, which doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, he had 158.3 through at least 3 quarters of that game, and I still think that's very impressive. And that's why I still believe that it wasn't as much of them choking as it is New England doing well because of how well Matt Ryan played and how well they played in general.
Yeah, I'm not going to blame the players for necessarily choking in a way. I blame more the play calling with it because they put the players in bad situations at the end of the game to convert just a first down. You didn't stay in field goal range. I mean, that's all it is, stay in field goal range. Devontae Freeman had 11 carries all game. He had 75 yards. If you guys had 75 yards, almost 7 yards a carry, I mean, I don't understand some of that stuff late. I think Kyle Shanahan was trying to have Matt Ryan be the hero there, make a big play late to seal the game pretty much. And I think he got a little too cute. I think coaches do that. They overthink the situation sometimes, and that's understandable. But it's just, I don't know. I just think the Falcons, if you're up 28-3, you should never lose. I don't care who you're playing. You should never lose that game.
Yeah.
I think that's what I think is a little more of a choke job. But whether that's a choke job or not, Belichick and Brady both get their 5 rings. It was a great Super Bowl to watch in the end. You saw the drama, the emotion, just everything swung in the second half to New England. You kind of just feel the tide turning in the second half. So from a viewer standpoint, if you had no dog in the fight, no money bet on anything, nothing, it's a great game to watch because there was a lot of intrigue if you stayed for the whole game. If you quit after halftime, I'm sorry. You missed a hell of a second half. But
yeah.
Probably one of the single greatest quarterback performances I've ever seen.
Brady was great.
He threw almost 250 yards in the fourth quarter alone.
Yeah,
it was just madness. Every throw he was throwing was a first down.
I mean, I don't blame him for giving him the MVP. Some people thought James White should have gotten it, but
he did good. But
James White's good, but it's been one of those things. Been a travesty if they would have given it to anybody but Brady.
Yeah,
Brady deserved that for what he played.
No doubt.
He took some shots in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he took some shots. That Garrett guy for Atlanta was smacking him. I thought he was going to get a couple flags because he touched on Brady a couple times.
Well, that's the thing that's the only way you can beat New England is to get the pass rush going, which is what I thought was going to happen.
It did for a while.
When we talked last few weeks ago, said if they can get the pass rush going, just like how the Denver Broncos did it last year with getting the pass rush and getting Brady flustered, that's the only way you can beat New England. That's the only way you can take down the dynasty is to rush the passer. And, that's why I thought the Chiefs would have had a better shot against New England than the Steelers did.
With the healthy Justin Houston.
But, we can't dwell on that.
No, we can't. And one thing with Atlanta, a guy who thought was going to be a big key to the game who was absolutely couldn't be found was Vic Beasley.
Yeah.
He had one quarterback hit, one pass deflection, that was it. That's all he had for his stat line. No tackles, nothing. He was pretty much irrelevant the entire game. Dwight Freeney had a sack. And then, of course, Grady Garrett, who everybody thought was going to be a great player coming into this game, he had 3 sacks by himself. I mean, he was just – I think Atlanta did a better job when they were stunning on the D-line. They got a lot more pressure that way, make the Patriots switch off and everything like that. But they just couldn't keep doing that with being gassed for the whole second half, be on the field for 40 minutes of the game. And I don't know all this – some of this was being talked during the game, but not after the game. Alex Mack is a freaking man. Playing with a broken leg during the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably thinking, I played for Cleveland for years. I am playing in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to play well. Because he had to block Branch for New England, who's huge. 6'6", 350 or something like that. That guy's big.
Big boy.
And Alex Mack was holding his own in the middle there. So a lot of props to Alex Mack for just playing through that injury the entire game.
Well, and speaking of offensive line play, I just couldn't help but think I felt so terrible. Because I've been in his situation before. Their right guard, oddly enough, he was 69, and I played right guard, and I know how he felt exactly, where he's just getting bulldozed back, and his whole back was blue because of was it the end zone paint or the midfield paint? Mm-hmm. He was just planted back and forth, and I mean, I feel for the guy. I understand what it's like. You just play against some war daddies, and those guys on the defensive line, man, they know how to play, and they know how to take your best advantage. They know how to pick you apart.
Yep. They know your weaknesses, every little bit of it, especially New England. They're so tedious with all their stuff in there. They know.
Especially with 2 weeks of preparation.
Yep.
I mean, during a week.
The fact that Atlanta got up 28-3 in the first place on New England's impressive.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
But the pre-plan by Atlanta was excellent going into this game. I just think the fourth quarter was much to be desired.
I think in terms of the preparation, when we had 2 weeks to prepare for an opponent, or when we had 1 week to prepare for an opponent as a Bearcat, all of stuff AD, Coach Floor brought into us, that made us so prepared for the games. I mean, we basically just sit there during our morning walkthroughs right before the game, and he would say, all right, what do you do here, what do you do there, and you just be able to list it off. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think Atlanta did really well. But I think what obviously what Bill Belichick's known for is his in-game adjustments and his halftime adjustments, which is what I thought AD and all of our coaching staff do so well. That's where we're so successful, is because they can make in-game adjustments just like that. And we always talk and communicate, hey, as soon as that first series is done, come back to the sideline and we can figure it out. And if we're not playing well in the first half, we'll go in the first half. He'll yell at us a little bit. But, he'll give us these opportunities to say, okay, we're going to change up the guard's way. He's going to do this, and the tackle's way he's going to do that, and the running back's going to go block this guy. And it's just quick there, that, and the other. And then, it's key in-game adjustments that are going to win you games.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot from Northwest. You look at the defense this past year, they'd allow a touchdown on the first drive, they'd come back to the sideline, they'd shut them down for the rest of the game. They made that adjustment, like, hey, we haven't seen this all year, this is what they're doing, we're shutting it down. I saw it in the Arrowhead game this year in the running game with Northwest. They're like, we've been blocking it out like this all year, we changed it a little bit, and you started gashing UCM in the running game. I mean, good teams can do that with in-game preparation and also before the game. Like, whenever they played Harding this year and ready for the triple option, there was either going to play Harding or Sioux Falls, two running teams, a little bit. And you could kind of tell the triple option, Northwest shut it down for Harding, and they knew almost exactly what they were going to do coming into that game. Like, hey, this is how we're going to play it. Everybody, assignment football. And I think it goes to the coaching staff, yes, but also the type of players that those staffs have on their roster with Northwest and New England, Alabama, all these teams that are successful year in, year out. San Antonio in basketball, St. Louis Cardinals in baseball, and teams like that. They have smart players who know how to make adjustments themselves along with the coaching staff. I know Coach Dorrell talked about this past year. Zimmerman and Sean Bain Jr. would talk about, like, hey, we just run a little adjustment here on the route. It's going to be a touchdown. And then just next play, Dorrell's like, I trust you guys. You guys go do it. And they did it. Easy touchdown. I mean, when you have a smart player like that, like Belichick has Brady and all that stuff, you can make adjustments in game and they'll click right away because you have smart, heady players who can implement adjustments quickly. I think that's what gets lost sometimes. Like, everybody drills on New England having white receivers. Well, I don't think it's so much having white receivers is they have undervalued receivers who are smart.
Yeah.
I think it's like lost. It's if it was a other guy who was undervalued, they snatch him up real quick. Like, hey, Martellus Bennett was undervalued for most of the year. They snatched him up. He made plays.
Well, and to continue, with the comparisons with with Northwest and New England, the receivers, and this isn't no slight to our guys that we have at receiver because some of those guys are my best friends, but we get guys that know how to fill in the system. We don't have those guys at UCM that are 6'4", 6'5", that can go up and catch a ball at its high point.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we have Sean Bain, who's an unreal athlete, but we find guys that are good, athletic guys that know how to run routes, know how to take what the coaches give them and take what the defense gives them, and not try to out-athletic anybody.
Yeah, I'd rather have a guy who's maybe a little less athletic, but a lot smarter and just runs the route, actually knows what he's doing on the field instead of a guy who's just a pure, just straight freak athlete. Like, if you get a freak athlete who's also good on the other stuff, that's great. It's like the perfect recipe. You're not going to get that all the time, though. So I think Northwest does a great job in even just developing guys to, hey, you're not going to get 10 catches a game for 200 yards. You're going to get a couple catches and make it worth it so you can stay on the field. I think Northwest does a great job with competition with each person. I think New England's the same job there with, like, Jamie Collins. He's a great athlete. He's a great player. Wouldn't do his assignments, so they said, you're out of here. And I think it let a wake-up call the rest of that defense, like, hey, if you don't do your job, we will ship you out no matter how talented you are. The system is more important than the player.
Exactly. And that's what's the beauty about New England, and that's why I love watching the Patriots play. That's why I like watching great teams play. No matter if it's Alabama, no matter if it's
San Antonio, now even Golden State, they just know how to play and they fit their system well, and it's just fun to watch that because being a part of this program, you appreciate what great teams do and how much work they put in, and you go, well, okay, yeah, I see that. I'm not much of a hater for the greatness anymore.
And that's why, like Belichick and his Patriots are so great. You find a combination of like a player that has like the IQ, the athleticism, and he fits into the system. So that's why the Patriots have always been such a great franchise. They always manage to find those players that can do all those three.
And I'm just ready for Brady to retire.
Yeah, he's like, how old is he? Like,
he's
40,
39.
39?
He'll be 40 here in a little bit. And he's like, I'm going to play 5 more years. Like, I don't know about that.
I think he can.
I don't know.
It's going to be one sack, and his knees are going to go to dust, and it's going to be over.
Well, the thing about Tom Brady is, and I'm not saying that no other quarterback works hard, but Tom Brady does so much in the offseason just to prepare his body to go through the grinding of the season. He takes his nutrition very seriously. He does everything beyond 100%, even though you can't really give more than 100%. But he does everything.
Give 110%.
Yeah, he does he does everything the next step, and that's why he's so great. It's not just doing the 8 to 10 workout. He does the 8 to 10 workout and then goes in and does recovery, nutrition, eating the exact amount of calories he needs, the exact right amount of things he needs to do. And that's where I think him taking care of himself that well, and especially with today's new technology, there's no reason why he couldn't play for 5 more years.
I think he could play for 5 more years. I think he's actually Tom Brady for a year or two. And then after that, he's a diminished player. Because I think Father Time is undefeated, and he always will be undefeated. With that, even with Tom Brady, who's never relied on – that's one thing with Tom Brady. He's never relied on his athleticism for any of that stuff for him to be great. It's always been his mind, his preparation, the little things with him. It's not just been like Michael Vick where you're just crazy athletic and stuff like that, or Cam Newton, you're crazy big and a strong arm. He's never been that. But I think with the quarterback, you hit that age 40, you hit a wall, and you just fall off a cliff. And I think that's going to happen within a year or two with Tom Brady. I don't know when. That's why I think they need to keep Jimmy Garoppolo for long term. I think Jimmy G is the next guy there. And I think Belichick wants to stay a little bit longer so he can prove he can win without Brady. Maybe a year or two, then he'll retire too. So maybe 5-6 more years of New England being what they are right now, then we'll see what happens after that, and then maybe an opening for AFC teams other than Brady, Manning, and Roethlisberger.
Well, God forbid that the Chiefs trade for another aging quarterback just like they did with Montana.
I mean, I might have to like Tom Brady because it's the Chiefs. I might just have to. But I think that's going to be it for our podcast today. So it's been Devin Albertson, Max Moore, and Jonathan Bynum. We talked about Super Bowl 51 and some comparisons to some local teams here with Northwest Missouri State and just the comparisons between great teams at any level of athletics. As always, follow us on Twitter at X106_sports. That'll be it for this week's podcast. Us crew will be back in 2 weeks. We'll see what we'll talk about then here on the X106 Podcast.